The early 2010s was an amazing time for gaming and gave us a huge selection of great open world RPGs to play. We got Skyrim, Dragon's Dogma, Dark Souls, Borderlands 2, Fallout New Vegas, and many others. All of those are still discussed to this day. Amidst all of those bangers, released a gem that got overlooked in Kingdoms of Amalur: Reckoning. In this video, I'm going to share why I think Reckoning is a pearl in the sea of open world games today, hailing from its era of gaming. Kingdoms of Amalur is an open-world action RPG released in 2012 after being co-developed by 38 studios and Big Huge Games, with some pretty big names in the industry and genre attached. With R.A. Salvatore, mostly known for his D&D book series The Legend of Drizzt, in charge of world building, Todd McFarlane, the lead art director who had worked on many comic lines, including Spawn and Spider-Man, and lastly, Morrowind and Oblivion veteran Ken Rolston. With all this institutional knowledge, Reckoning was set to be a banger, and the game was generally well received with people critiquing the story, performance, and world design. The game was remastered in 2020 with tweaks to balancing and level progression, and that's the version that I'll be reviewing with my 50-hour playthrough on PC. As I mentioned before, this is an action RPG, so you'll be going on quests, gathering gear, creating builds, and stomping through enemies, but there are some more engaging systems like crafting, alchemy, and stealth in the game, as well as some very light choice and consequence scenarios. I found the mechanics put in place were enough to keep me looking forward to the next level, gear drop, and resource so that I could test and refine my build as well as progress the story. The game starts out with you creating a character based on race, gender, faith, and appearance, with race and faith having effects on your stats. Then you find yourself being reanimated with no clue as to what's going on. Meanwhile, the lab you're in is under attack by a hostile force named the Tuatha. The person seemingly responsible for your reanimation leads you out of the lab and sacrifices himself so you can escape and begin your journey to understand what exactly is going on. From this point, you can follow the main quest or go off and just explore, with very few things being closed off. Kingdoms of Amalur has a story. It's not a very great or memorable story, but it's a story. They're the Tuatha, which is a force helmed by a fae named Gadflow who's obsessed with freeing a goddess so that they can take over and rule the lands, but the goddess has other plans to just ultimately free herself. But you're unbound by the laws of nature and pretty much the only thing standing in their way, so you oppose them for one reason or another. In my opinion, the main story wasn't the star of the show, but the side quests were. They continuously amazed me with how narratively involved they were. One of the critiques I saw was that the side quests were MMO-like in nature, with many fetch quests or go get rid of X amount of this enemy, which is true, but the stories were intriguing to me. There was a guy who'd been having me go get things for him, calling them labors, only to find out that he was gearing up to take on a king who'd put a bounty on his head 3 years ago after that same king had killed his wife. And I found this quest randomly, by the way. I just walked into this guy's house, to which he asked if I just randomly walk into people's houses, and then invited me for a chat over some wine. There are also factions in this game that play a greater role in the overall world and that were genuinely interesting. Once again, the completion of the quests weren't amazing as they were fetch quests and elimination quests, but I did them because I kept asking, okay, what happens next? The lore in the world in which Kingdoms of Amalur takes place is so intriguing to me. I wanted to know about the history of certain battles, alliances, kingdoms, races, and creatures that just existed during the time of this game. It's criminal that we didn't get a sequel. The game has skills like alchemy, blacksmithing, hidden detect, or persuasion, which affect the way in which you interact with the world. For example, the more points you spend in persuasion, the easier it will be to get information out of people or pacify a would-be enemy. Or, if you put more points into detection, you'll be able to find secret doors or laid traps. Reckoning also has a class system which I absolutely adored. The way it works is you get 3 ability points per level that can go towards active or passive abilities under the categories of Might, which is a warrior, Finesse, which is a rogue, and Sorcery, which is a mage. You can respec at any point in your playthrough, but I stuck with Sorcery all the way through. You can even dual class with combinations of any category and even triple class, but I don't know how fun or effective that will be. Depending on how many points you put into each category, you'll have access to different fates, which are essentially a proficiency based on progression that has different perks depending on the level of that fate. Kingdoms of Amalur has a basic but effective weapons and armor system with rarities, effects, enhancement slots, and set bonuses. I might find a sword that does more raw damage, but if I have on an armor set that boosts my elemental damage, then I might equip a sword with less raw damage, but has fire on it, so it boosts my overall damage. Anytime I have to give some thought to what I'm going for, I'm intrigued. At the end of my playthrough, I was a glass cannon because I kept a lower level armor set that boosted my magic abilities, so I just found a weapon that gave me health back on hits, and that was a remedy to my situation. Weapons and armor can be locked by either your overall level or the level of your class category. Like a weapon might require 13 finesse, but you only invested 8 points, so you can't use it. This causes you to want to replay the game with a different class or respec because the effect might be unique or fit a certain build. Combat isn't best in class, but with the animation effects and feedback, it was a joy to fight more enemies. You have 8 ability slots for those active abilities I mentioned earlier, and as a mage, I was able to summon a single undead minion to follow me around and fight guys, shoot a ball of lightning, call down a huge meteor that did major damage, and throw a barrage of ice, among other things. There were some enemies that could cause a little worry because of a move or ability that they had, but by the end of the game, I felt like I was the fate-changing force that the characters in the game told me I was. Reckoning went with a more stylized art style, which I think plays to its strength as in my opinion the game has aged beautifully. The environment delivered the high fantasy world that was being conveyed, large castles, small one-off villages, cities full of magic, large vistas filled with magical monsters, and swamps lurking with beasts. Graphics were good, the picture looked sharp, and there's really not too much more I can ask for as I was playing at 4K on a 5070. Load times were great, and I don't think I ever waited over 5 seconds for the game to load. The things that really stood out to me while playing this game was the lore, side stories, and character building, as I continuously wanted to get stronger to find out what was going to transpire next. That being said, there are some things that hindered my experience. Firstly, the super sampling option in the graphics settings caused some really bad stuttering for a while, and I couldn't figure out what was going on until I looked it up. The post-processing was also causing some frame dips, so good thing that this game looks great with those being off. Second, there was an instance of being soft-locked out of content. There's a quest line that I was looking forward to as it's 4 mages, but there was a random bug in the code or a file or whatever that caused the NPC not to spawn. I tried everything short of entering the game's files and adjusting the save state, and it didn't work. I literally could not finish that quest. I almost quit the game because I was so bummed out, but I kept going and eventually forgot about it until writing this review. If you like games like Skyrim, Avowed, Fallout 4, and the Outer Worlds, then I think this game is up your alley. You can't do anything in any way like Baldur's Gate 3, have deep stories with companions like Mass Effect, or be a landlord like in Fable, but you can get really strong, explore a cool world, and form alliances while doing it. All in all, I give this game a 7.8 out of 10. It's missing some deeper RPG mechanics for most people, but that's not what I was looking for. What I got was a solid action RPG from the 2010s era with the art style, mechanics, and story. I wouldn't buy this game for full price, which is $40, but I wait until it's no more than $20 or find it on a site like Instant Gaming or Loaded. Thanks for listening to my review. If you made it this far, I have a few more on the way as I'm getting through some other games, but I appreciate it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.